spoilers. What's up guys, Pencil here, and here we are to do a breakdown / spoiler discussion for chapter 268 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as Conclusion. We are no longer in the decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku. We are done. Wholeheartedly, wholesale, we have finally reached the end. No more guessing, no more wondering, no more confusion. And luckily enough, I do actually have translations this time, so all the mistakes I made in the quick spoiler discussion shall now be rectified because I do have enough rough translations that I'm excited to talk about the chapter. Of course, I still do have a big negative thought that lingers deep in the core of my soul, but luckily enough, I'm under no binding vow. I can yap as long as I want, as thoroughly as I want, and as juicily as I want. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Editing me, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up guys, that guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, it's really the end. It's funny to think about. It's crazy how I'm already getting like nostalgic for JJK. But I read Jujutsu Kaisen on a whim. Like, almost, hold on, I'm gonna do something crazy. Hold on, let me see. Can I even find it? I'm just gonna put in what I think the title of the video was. Hold on. And let me see. Let me see. I can't find it. The original video. I read Jujutsu Kaisen on a whim. Just one day. I just randomly felt like reading it. And to think that now I'm so deeply invested that I'm ready to be here at its end. We've come a long way, my friends. We've come a long way to the end of this journey. But we have a lot to talk about. So we open up and we do get to see that Sukuna simply asks Megumi a couple questions. How dare you try to live on? You let your body be taken by me. You slaughtered your own sister. You even rejected a hand that was offered to you. Ryomen Sukuna is reaching out to Megumi Fushiguro's soul. Right here, right now, we are seeing the truth of Ryomen Sukuna. We are seeing the base of Ryomen Sukuna. His desperation, his confusion, his fear. Because ultimately, remember, Sukuna did fear Megumi. Innately. He knew, all the way back before he possessed him, that Megumi Fushiguro, just like Yuji Itadori, had the potential to be a cage. Unlike Yuji Itadori, he was an all-natural one, but still a cage nonetheless. And now, finally, the cage no longer wants to be used. The cage no longer wants to act as a container, spontaneously, out of nowhere. All it took was the call of a friend after all this time, and now, suddenly, he wants to be his own man. Now, suddenly, he wants to be free. Now, suddenly, it's no longer time for the King of Curses, the puppeteer, the Prince of Darkness. And you can tell, while Sukuna's soul, the manifestation of it, the true four-eyed, four-armed form, the two-mouthed beast that is Ryomen Sukuna, looks oddly annoyed rather than desperate. You can tell by the true manifestation of Sukuna. Remember, this is simply their souls. The true manifestation of Sukuna is jeering at Megumi. It is trying to remind him of the negativity. It is trying to lose him, steep him back in the shadow that consumed him. Because as powerful as Ryomen Sukuna is, as dangerous as Ryomen Sukuna is, as I will say continuously, especially considering it seems like we're done, as I will say continuously and wholeheartedly, Ryomen Sukuna is by far the strongest character in this manga. Undeniably. Yeah, no shadow of a doubt to you, boy. Ultimately, he's still but a cursed object haunting a vessel. At the end of days, that's what he is. Beyond any shadow of a doubt, that's simply what Ryomen Sukuna is. He is a being in a vessel. He himself could not transcend the ages in his original form. No. While his body was able to be preserved so he could consume it later on, ultimately, no. Ryomen Sukuna is a man. Begging. Wondering. Screaming. screaming at the vessel that holds him, trying to convince it to stay a vessel. And at first, in the quick spoiler discussion, I had thought that Megumi Fushiguro hadn't even honored him with a response. But luckily enough with the translations, I do have clarification. And it does make sense considering none of the lines here lead to Sukuna, so it would have to be Megumi speaking. But Megumi says something interesting. As he tells Megumi to give up, you can no longer live a proper life. Just stay, quit, and let me handle the rest. Sukuna, once again, trying to rationalize and reason with Megumi, showing his desperation, showing his humanity. Megumi responds with something interesting. As Sukuna fades away, he asks, why are you so desperate? There's still the one Sukuna finger left. If the way of becoming a cursed object is predetermined, then if you're peeled off by Itadori, you'll die here. Oh, let me keep going. And resonance isn't all good for you too. If your 19 fingers disappear and the last one won't be able to connect your soul from the effects, I'm honestly relieved to know that even you're afraid of dying. I never intended to live a proper life from the start. It's a given, but there's so many more people other than yourself in the world. I think I'll try to live for someone else one more time. Now, a couple things here. Once again, Sukuna's humanity is highlighted. Personally, I think it's not even just a human thing. I think everything, in one way or another, fears death. I think it just is. Anything that is fears not being. Anything alive fears the state of not being alive. Even if it is subconscious for the most part. On the average day-to-day, as one's working, as one's exercising, as one's enjoying themselves, you don't necessarily think about dying. It's just not something that crosses most people's minds. But it's always there. Everything exists with the goal to perpetuate itself and its species. And even things that are not sentient, even things that are not alive in the traditional sense, will eventually die. From our planet, to the star it rotates around, to the solar system our planet and our sun exists in, to the galaxy, to the very universe, everything will eventually die. But it's only when death is close that I think the true fear of it starts to hit for sentient creatures. Once again, I don't understand the minds or even the general philosophy of things that we do not recognize as sentient, aka animals and plants and stuff like that. I don't know what a chicken thinks when it's about to lose its life in order to become some chicken nuggets. When a cow's about to be turned into a burger, I have no clue. When beans are going to be turned into bean steak, I have literally zero idea if there's anything beyond. Well, we'll get them next time, folks. I have literally no clue, even if they can muster that. But Uraume Sukuna, a character consistently called and recognized as, and feared as, and held as a calamity. A character beyond the bounds and fears of human logic, something so transcendent that numerous sorcerers of extreme levels of power simply could not reach him, could not understand him, could not begin to get to the base of the mountain that he stood atop of. It didn't matter, because as far high above them that he stood, there was something that stood ever higher. Death. And Sukuna, well before this point, acknowledged the idea that he's simply passing time. Passing time until he dies. Because he knows, in the end, he cannot beat death. Nothing can. Anything living cannot. And while before, that inevitability just gave him motivation to keep trying the different flavors of people, living a different life, enjoying a different life, now it's genuine desperation, a human fear of being lost to death. And the fact that Megumi Fushiguro recognizes that fear, recognizes that desperation, recognizes all of that in Sukuna, the being that has governed a chunk of his life up to this point that he'll never get back, that ruined the life of Itadori, that ruined the life of Samuki, took the life of Samuki, took the life of Sasuke Gojo, took the lives of many others. The fact that even Megami, who has just been recently awoken from the deepest darkness he could ever be steeped in, both literally, psychologically, and in the laws of the universe, being steeped in evil, the fact that even he recognizes Sukuna's humanity and the fear that he has as a creature that is going to die. I like it. And I like how Sukuna, in the end, finally breaks. One thing I've been praising consistently about Sukuna, whether it be in shorts or whether it be in other videos or on other platforms, it's his unrelenting determination. It's his inability to believe that he can lose. Other villains would have broken far before Sukuna. Other villains would have begun to scream, begun to writhe, begun to fight back in weird and obstinate, well, that's not the word I'm looking for, but in weird different ways. And some may have not been able to fight back at all. The desperation and fear of the end would have consumed them much faster than Sukuna, and that's what I gave Sukuna praise for. But I'm happy that in the end, Sukuna's humanity is being reinforced. And it's going to be continue to be reinforced later in the chapter, but I want to focus on it here, mainly because this is how you know that it's truly the end. Sukuna has nothing to threaten Megami with. Nothing. He's just taking information that's already been a part of Megami for a while now. He's desperate. He's scared. He's afraid. Even 1,000 years ago, he had the guarantee of a second life with a binding vow and a deal made with Kenjaku, a sorcerer who he thought would be eternal and immortal, unlike him. But now he has nothing. He may not know it, considering the lack of information, but I think he does understand based on the fact that, the merger was transferred to him, that Kenjaku's dead. Uraume is worthless, as we'll find out soon. And ultimately, they have a way to ruin him. As Megami mentions, there is the final finger. That last thing, and they can't destroy it. In fact, there's more than the final finger. They're the 3 fingers that Sukuna just spat up last chapter when Yuji punched him. They're there. They're indestructible. They contain fragments of Sukuna's soul. And sure, Megami brings up the idea that maybe Resonance has messed up the soul collection, and hypothetically the loss of the fingers inside this domain, one way or another, will lead to Sukuna only existing in that one finger. But regardless, they have a way to kill Sukuna. Yuji Itadori was right. Ultimately, he had the path, he had the choice, he had the ability to kill Sukuna. They all do now. Sukuna is now prisoner. And a prisoner without a backup plan, a prisoner without the ability to escape, a prisoner without the ability to run away. The strongest sorcerer ever. Reduced to nothing but a crying, begging child. Trying to convince another child who was lost in darkness to simply stay there. Give him the body. Allow him to control everything. Because he's earned it. And Megami doesn't deserve it. So stop. However, another thing I will admit I do like heavily about Megami and the interaction here is that Megami's soul speaks to Sukuna. It goes back and it brings up a fantastic point. Megami never believed he could live a regular life, despite how much he wanted it. No matter what, no matter how deeply he desired a normal, regular life, he was a regular man born in an irregular world, with extreme talent within that irregular world. And thusly, he would have to pay the price of being a regular man in an irregular world. And the best way he figured he could do that is by living for others. Of course, when Samuki's life was lost, he thought he could no longer live for any other. Because why would he? But thanks to Yuji Itadori reaching out, thanks to Yuji Itadori not losing faith, thanks to Yuji Itadori being there for Megami and Fushiguro, he realized that there's still a chance. there are still other people to live for, many other people to live for. And ultimately, by standing by watching Sukuna simply slaughter and destroy everything around him, Megumi would still be living for someone else, but it'd be someone much lesser, someone much worse. It would be Sukuna himself that Megumi would be living for. And since Megumi believes, regardless, he's going to be living for someone, he's going to live for the many, many different people that deserve a chance at life. Not Ryoma and Sukuna. Megumi Fushiguro has changed in the sense that he knows what he wants to live for. He still, like Yuji, wants to live for other people, but on his own terms. In his own way. Not at the whims and declarations of an 1,000-year-old king. And naturally, with such being made and laid bare, everything breaks. Everything shatters, and I'm missing a darn page. Gosh darn it. Am I missing a page? Am I missing a page? I think I'm missing a page. I'm looking at the translation. There's a page I am missing. I'm missing a page. It's where Yuji knocks away Megumi through his domain. His domain was very, very large, by the way. His domain was huge, but it shatters, and Sukuna is knocked out, and Megumi is freed. His hair turns back. He loses the extra arms. He goes back completely to normal. And the curse that is Ryoma Sukuna is torn off from his flesh. And once again, I love how you can see Sukuna scream. Desperate. The eyes, the claws, the hand that is torn away, ripped away from Megumi. He still wants to live. And don't we all? Don't we all want to live for our passions? Don't we all just want to be? Even at the cost of other people, we want to exist, don't we? And Ryoma Sukuna is desperate for that existence. But ultimately, it's far too late for that. Because Ryoma Sukuna was human. And by proxy, he was a fool. Once again, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. Ryoma Sukuna could have won as early as chapter 238. If he had bothered to take the humanity that he admits he understood seriously, if he had bothered to actually acknowledge Yuji Todori, someone who he already knew bore his same potential, if he had bothered to actually move with even the slightest bit of intention, the slightest bit of determination, in spite of what a character will go on to later say in this chapter, Ryoma Sukuna, incarnated in the body of Megumi Fushiguro, could have easily slaughtered them all with no damage. It is bold of me to say that. I know it is. I know some are going to be like, Pencil Man, are you crazy? I am confident that a true form Sukuna could have no damaged, low diffed the entire rest of the cast that came to challenge him. But he was a fool. He was too greedy. The same thing that he got on Kashimo's case for, the same thing he got on Gojo's case for, their stubbornness, their unwillingness, their desire to suddenly be understood at the same time as they were the strongest. Ryoma Sukuna was too greedy. And the funny thing is, I think he knows that. And it's why in the end, his greed is all that's left. Look at what remains of Sukuna. The eyes to observe the world, the hands to attempt to reach out and grasp it, which quickly burn away, and the mouth to try and devour it all. What is Sukuna's technique based in? Hunger, devouring, preparation, food. What is Sukuna's main hobby? Consumption. What did Sukuna always want to do? Consume. So it only makes sense that when you strip Sukuna down to his fundamentals, when you leave him as what the curse that is Ryoma Sukuna is, ultimately he is nothing but a mouth and eyes. The ability to observe and the desire to consume, that's all that's left. Because he's an empty man. A man with nothing. A greedy man who sought too much, who desired to taste the flavors of the world directly rather than simply dealing with them when he knew ultimately he'd end up allergic. And isn't that a shame, Ryoma Sukuna? The fact that you let yourself be consumed by your own desires. Someone supposedly free of that flaw, someone capable of critiquing others for that flaw, someone who ultimately should have known better than anybody else that mindset was foolish and arrogant and ultimately would lead to his demise. Ryoma Sukuna, you knew, but ultimately you fell regardless. And what I love the most is that Yuji Itadori looks down on the screaming residual of Sukuna, once again reduced to but an eye and a mouth, begging for life, begging desperately, begging for a chance to continue to be human. And like long before, against a curse, something different from humanity, Yuji looks down upon him, standing there, one arm cased in a clawed gauntlet, the other free and missing 2 fingers, with an eye torn out of his socket. And naturally, Yuji simply asks, what will you do? What is your choice? What is your answer to me, Ryoma Sukuna? As remember, in 265, Yuji offered Sukuna a choice. You can leave Fushiguro, and you can come back to me, and we can live out the rest of our days together. Father, uncle, or I can kill you. I have the ability to, and I will. Ultimately, that option to spare Sukuna's life, that thing ultimately comes to bear. Now, notably, I don't have the translation for what Sukuna says here, if he says anything, but we see Yuji scoops up the residual of Sukuna, and he makes a very interesting claim. A very similar claim to one he made long ago, as Sukuna's essence wisps away into the wind, unable to maintain itself. Yuji Itadori is ultimately Ryoma Sukuna, as he says, born bearing a curse without even knowing it. What kind of monster that we would have become was a matter of chance. But I have my grandpa. Sukuna, let's try one more time. When 265 came out, I made, in my long review especially, I made a heavy point on the idea that Ryoma Sukuna, for one, is human, and that Yuji Itadori accepts Ryoma Sukuna as human. Those are 2 things I really tried to hammer in that review, because I think they were very important thematically and very important to the choice that Yuji would end up making when it came to Sukuna and how he would approach it. And once again, I called back to the Mahito parallel because I think it's important here. There's a fundamental difference about how Yuji's approaching both scenarios. When Yuji was chasing down Mahito, stomping after him in that snow field, a wolf hunting a rabbit, there was no remorse. There was no care. If Yuji had actually managed to get his hands on Mahito, there would be nothing but malice as he tore Mahito from existence and exorcised him. And ultimately, Mahito was a curse. Did he have the potential to become human? Maybe. Transfiguration is a very powerful ability. Who knows what he could have done? But Mahito was a curse. But Yuji Itadori knows Ryoma Sukuna. Yuji Itadori sees himself in Ryoma Sukuna. Yuji Itadori knows that Ryoma Sukuna is human. And like all humans, like all people, we are forged by our environments. One way or another, you are the product of what you were surrounded by as you grew up, and you are the product of what you surround yourself as later on in life. As simple as that. And Yuji Itadori recognizes that fact as a person who was finally able to reach out and understand the bonds and connections and the ties of humanity. He gets it. And ultimately, that's why, in the end, just as he did in 265, despite finally being free of the curse, finally putting this curse to an end, he still feels pity for Sukuna. He still feels pity for the lonely lost child. He still feels pity, even though knowing he had to strike him down. And we see Sukuna try and fight back. And one last desperate attempt, one last desperate scream as Yuji offers him this chance. Sukuna says, "I'll commend you for playing the fool to this extent, Yuji Itadori. Don't underestimate me. I'm a curse." And Ryoma Sukuna fades away. Now, there still is the question, like Megami mentioned, there is that last finger, and the 3 fingers were thrown out. So, of course, this aspect of Sukuna, the 16 fingers of Sukuna, destroyed. But, once again, Yuji did reach out. He did tell him, we're going to do this again. We're going to try this again. You're going to come with me. And I do think, to a degree, Sukuna will end up back in Yuji. Ultimately, given another sick, twisted chance. But the one thing, and admittedly, I do want to see this because there doesn't seem to be a response after this. We immediately cut to the one part of this chapter that really rustles my jimmies. But that aside, Ryoma Sukuna declares himself a curse in the end. But I think even he knows that's wrong. I think it's why Yuji, once again, does not dignify with a response. Of course, because he's like a reduced pile of ash. Who to be talking to? But at the same time, he's not. No matter what John Weary tried to gaslight us into believing, Sukuna's not a curse. No matter what Uro believes, Sukuna was not a calamity. No matter what every other strongest that threw themselves against Ryoma Sukuna, whether it be Kashimo, Hajime, Gojo, Satoru, or even Yuta, Kotsu, all the different strongest, no matter what they may have seen as they threw themselves into that mountain, Ryoma Sukuna was a human being. Only a human being could be foolish. A calamity isn't dumb nor smart. Only a human being could be creative and understand the rules of their world in the way that Sukuna did. Only a human being, in the end, would be desperately begging a child for their life. Begging to be saved, begging to be given another chance, begging like a dog for a scrap of food. Only a human could do that. And as Sukuna openly declares, "I'm a curse," Yuji doesn't even respond. Because he knows it's not true. Because Ryoma Sukuna is Yuji Itadori. 2 humans. 2 regular beings. Blessed or cursed with great power. And by proxy, a great responsibility. Ryoma Sukuna took that great power, took that great responsibility, and took it to be the pinnacle, the greatest, the strongest. But of course, that led to him disregarding the rest of the humanity that he did understood as he was a part of them, because they simply weren't good enough. But it was that humanity that was not good enough that came collectively under him and pushed Yuji Itadori up, the reflection of Ryoma Sukuna, to strike him down. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. I love how Ryoma Sukuna has lost. I love how Ryoma Sukuna has gone out. I love how pathetic it is. Because it's human. And if JJK is one thing, it is Yuji Itadori's journey of understanding to what it means to be human. And while Ryoma Sukuna seems to deny it in the very end, he knows the truth. Like you said, he always understood it. But then we cut to the part of the chapter that rustles my jimmies, even though I knew it was going to happen. Scene shifts. Uraume realizes that Sukuna lost. Hakari asks what they'll do now. "I already told you. It's the end. There's no meaning to anything anymore." Uraume says the only logical reasoning for Sukuna's defeat is that he was in an incarnated body. "You all were just lucky. You were saved by being born 1,000 years too late. I was just lucky, huh? That's the highest praise I could receive. Uraume's body slowly crumbles away as they say, indeed. So, Hakari versus Uraume. Okay. How long ago did I make that video? How long ago did I sink like 30 minutes? Made a custom thumbnail. Drew that bad boy to the moon and back. Hold on. Uraume. How long ago? I feel like it was darn near half a year ago at this point. Okay, the what's happening with Hakari versus Uraume with the custom drawn thumbnail was 3 months ago. Why Hakari versus Uraume has the potential to be a top 5 fight in all Jujutsu Kaisen 10 months ago, nearly a year ago. The moment, realistically, the moment Yuji unlocked his domain expansion, I did give up on this fight. Like, internally. I will admit. I think I even say it in some videos. I did give up on this fight. I knew Gege wasn't going to cover it. But now that we're at the end, now that we're in the end game, I want to, like, there are sometimes I do want to, like, go and talk to creators. There are sometimes I'd love to go talk to the Ben 10 creators and ask certain decisions that they made. There's a bunch of information on why they made certain decisions. I'd love to go, generally, I just love to talk to, I'm bad with names. What is it? I don't want to say their name wrong. Full Metal Alchemist mangaka. It is Hiromu Arakawa. I'd love to talk to them just to get tips on story writing. They're just fantastic. And there are a bunch of questions I have for a particular man named Nakaba Suzuki. I want to ask why he's so weird for literally no reason. Why is he a weirdo? But for a series which you will consistently hear me claim, and you know what? I can even see a roundabout way. But will consistently hear me claim that every character has served some sort of purpose because JJK is just that streamlined. Where removing even the single most minor of characters would cause a weird domino effect, which would mess things up. Why? Why even have the characters? Like, don't get me wrong. Fiction is fiction. And as a writer myself, I know I invent characters for the sake of things. Every single character is a plot device. That's just how writing works. It's not real life. And even in tech, in real life, people are plot devices to some degree. It's all for the plot. It's all for the sake of the plot. It's all for the sake of the backstory. It's all for the sake of the lore. But in fiction, every character is a plot device. I understand that. But why even give us this? Why? Here's the thing, right? Both Hakari and Uraume are legitimately D-tier characters in terms of story importance. You have your MCs and your main villain in S tier. You have your whole plot basis and story writers in your A tiers, like your Gojos and your Kenjakus. You have your C tier, your B tier characters, like your Yutas, like your Makis, stuff like that. Then you have your C tier characters like your Inumakis. I get that. I get that Uraume and Hakari were D tier characters, but why waste my time? If you're gonna off-screen a majority of the fight and then have it end with Uraume just offing themselves. Here's the thing, right? In context of the character, it makes sense. That's why that's why I'll admit, it's not horrifically poor writing, and as I just thought off the top of my dome piece late here at night as I'm recording, I can even see why these characters cannot be removed. There are certain instances in the narrative where they do things where they are needed based on how JJK is currently structured. It would be easy to pluck them out. You could pluck out Hakari, if you really wanted to. You would lose some interesting stuff. I really like Kashima as much as I'm going to slander the man soon enough. At the request of Cloudy Days, who made a $25 request over on Ko-Fi. So if you want your own video, do the same thing. But with that being the case, I'm going to slander Kashima. I'm going to slander Hakari horrifically. And I'm going to slander Uraume because you can remove these characters without causing too much trouble. You would have to rewrite some stuff, but the tools are all there. Because what does Uraume really do? I mean, they save Sukuna. at the end of 215, or I think 215, he could have done that himself. He could have just knocked Yuji and Maki away and then summoned Nue and then gone off. Could have hunted down the fingers himself. Kenjaku used Uraume as like a vanguard at the end of Shibuya. He could have done it himself. He has the millions of cursed spirits at the time. Hakari needs to be there to fight Kashimo. Kashimo only exists as a plot device to have 200 points. Just make it so that some other player has the rules or has the points. Give it to only Hiruma. It is like, I shouldn't have had hope, because why should I have? So that's the thing. It's not poor writing. At least not in the way that I say that these characters were any more important to the point where they deserved something like a full-scale fight. But I'm sitting here thinking how Takaba, of all characters, had an extensive character exploration and is responsible for the death of the author of the main series. The whole series. Even technically, Kenjaku's the reason the prequel series goes the way it does, based on the whole system that he set up with Geto, and as we retroactively learn that through the events of Hidden Inventory. Takaba got that. Takaba got a full backstory. Takaba got full explanations. Takaba got a 4-chapter straight fight against one of the major antagonists. And while Yuta did come in and clutch up alongside Todo in order to get Kenjaku the most devious headshots of all time, Takaba's responsible for Yuta being able to do that and Todo being able to do that. That's the whole point. Takaba got that. But you need to tell me one of the heavy hitters, one that was highlighted by Kenjaku, the author of the narrative, and Uraume, the personal assistant and chef to our main antagonist, the King of Curses. These two characters, who've been hyped up numerous times as monsters, as beasts, as animals, as creatures, as demons, we don't even get to see the dignity of their battle. Why? There are so many points where you could have slotted it in that it actively became a running joke in the community that, oh, this week we're going to cut away. Oh, this week we're going to cut away. Oh, this week we're going to cut away. Because it almost felt like it needed to happen, but clearly it didn't. And here's the saddest thing. The Hakari slander is now fully justified. For I know I can hear the Yuta fans. The moment I saw how this ended, and was able to just assume, I didn't even need the translations, to just assume that Uraume straight off themselves, I could hear them. I could hear them screaming. Although I could hear them through the walls. And as a Maki fan, of course I'm happy too. I know the Yuji fans are going mad, crazy buku bonkers. I know the Ryu fans are doing jigs. I know every single, but it tickles a part of my soul that I don't want being tickled. I just don't like it. It makes sense because Hakari's a pillow puncher. He's whack. He does no damage, and that's why he couldn't beat Uraume. Uraume had to off themselves because Sukuna lost. It makes perfect sense. That's admittedly, that's the writing I hate the most. I hate when I can see what the author was going for and it makes sense. Of course, Uraume would off themselves. They're just a manservant or woman servant, whatever they are. They have a chest strap, which does seem to have soft confirmation, but who knows? Maybe they just like that. So it makes sense that Uraume would off themselves. It makes sense that Hakari couldn't beat Uraume because Hakari can't beat anybody because he's whack. He's doodle butter. He's garbage. It makes perfect sense, but maybe I just wanted too much. Maybe I just wanted more. Maybe I'm the problem. I think I am because the writing makes sense. And that's the thing. I can't dock points when it makes sense. It's the hard conundrum. I think my mentality changed when it came to the ending of MHA, which ironically enough, when MHA ending versus JJK ending, the series are ending within months, like weeks of each other. So I'm absolutely going to make a comparison video between the two endings once we have all JJK wrapped up. But towards, not even the ending of MHA, but towards like the back chunk of it. Like I'd say the back third of the narrative, ever since the end of the first war arc in MHA. I kept running into this issue where I would explain something that I didn't like. But logistically speaking, based on how the narrative was written, sometimes it couldn't really be classified as bad writing because it was either foreshadowed, it was Chekhov's gun, blah, 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 blah. And I found myself walking this weird line, especially as a person who likes to critique media and likes to think he has some sort of opinions on them that are worth sharing, obviously, considering I'm yapping this extensively about it. I like to believe that I have some sort of idea of what's good and bad, whack and not whack. I like to believe it, but I've wholeheartedly admitted I'm not a mangaka. I write stuff, but it's either fan fiction or stuff that's going to take me forever to eventually publish. I'm not a published author. I have degrees. I have my bachelor's and my master's in two completely fields that are completely separate from literary analysis. I've not taken a lit analysis class in literally a decade. Okay, that's a lie. But still, I've not taken one in forever. So I'm completely unqualified whenever I do give my critiques. So I always try to give that disclaimer. I always try to give that, like, here's my thoughts, though I'm kind of whack, so take it with a bag of salt, not a grain. And I think that's one of these cases here, where sometimes in MHA, I would have to separate, this isn't necessarily bad writing, I just don't like it. And this is it. This isn't necessarily bad writing. It makes sense with everything Geige's established scaling-wise, the fact that Hakari's trash, the fact that Uraume's trash and a non-character, it makes sense. I just don't like it, because I wanted more from both of these characters. And they could have easily provided it, Geige could have given it to us, considering they were willing to give so much to talk about. And as much as I am a guy who's come around to Takaba vs. Kenjaku and liking it for what it does for both those characters, the fact that these two characters didn't get the glory of what Takaba got, the glory of what Higuruma got, heck, what Kashimo got, even if it was just a true chapter fight, at least it was a fight, it hurts a portion of my soul that is unspeakable. The fact that we had chapters dedicated to Leroux and Miguel and Kusakabe all fighting Sukuna, but Hakari Kinji, the immortal man, never got a chance to walk through my level 1 shrine or do anything with it. The fact that the heavy hitter was so worth. A deep part of me is disappointed on an astral level. I will see, once again, it is late at the time of recording. For reference, it is like 2 in the morning. It's like nearly 2:30 in the morning as I'm recording right now. And once again, I have no idea how long this video is going to end up being. I'm probably going to set this to export, go to sleep, and then wake up and upload it in the morning for who knows what. But with that being the case, maybe my thoughts will change. If y'all can change them, please do. Please do. Sweet Mother of Mercy, please do. But enough about this. Geige clearly didn't care about them, so why should I? Let's move on to the rest of the chapter, the back half of it. We see Megumi wake up in a bed, seemingly back in Jujutsu High. And notably, he does have markings on his face, remnants of Sukuna's possession. Now, this is interesting, I will admit. While this marking does make sense to me, because it's simply where the extra eye was, I don't really get this one. I guess it's supposed to represent the Sukuna fingers. But with that being the case, cool. I mean, it's good that he has some sort of remnants. But question, where's Tengen? I have the translations, y'all. Tengen's not mentioned. For example, we see Megumi wake up after an indeterminate amount of time, and Yuji does the same joke that Gojo did with Nobara coming back in the box for a surprise. Yay. But Tengen? Where are they? Sukuna ate them. Did they die with Sukuna? I don't think so. Cursed energy still seems to be a thing. Where's Tengen? Did Megumi hurl them up off screen? I don't know. And while, hey, I'm not shocked that the merger didn't happen, I would like that major plot point that was set up by the in-universe author of the series to be addressed, Geige. You got 3 chapters. Let's see you do it. But once again, let me shift out of negative mode temporarily and go back to positive mode as we see the trio reunite. Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi. Once again, sort of fulfilling the prophecy that Geige laid out long, long ago, where either all would die. it's so simple, but I always forget it. Essentially, one of them would die and the rest would live, or the rest of them would die and one would live. We are clearly in the timeline. We're flipped so quickly. I really thought we were going to be in the Yuji alone timeline, but we're clearly in the timeline where Gojo, the predecessor, the past, the teacher, perished, and we have the future, Megami, Yuji, and Nobara, all alive and well. And we see everyone's back to normal. Yuji's fully healed, did no lasting damage from the Sukuna fight in particular. He still just has the same old scars that he's had since Shibuya. And Nobara has her eye patch, and Megami has his new scars. And let me get the translations out again. Let me take a look in a book, eating rainbow. Scene shifts. Megami finally wakes up and asks, "What are you two doing?" As he looks at Yuji and Nobara goofily trying to surprise him. Nobara and Yuji, a Kugasaki survival surprise. And Megami's like, "Oh, I see. My bad." And Nobara says, "You know, the class's Madonna, who everyone thought was dead, turned out to be alive? Shouldn't you two be surprised that you wet yourself or cry out of joy?" And ultimately, Yuji says he cried a little when Residence was hit. And Megami says he wasn't really surprised since he saw what happened inside of Sukuna. Once again, Nobara's return works in character. And I'm not stepping back. I think thematically it does work. I think the timing was well placed. And ultimately, now that the battle is over, I think saving her for last, her being the last big bad return that leads to Yuji's victory over Sukuna, and saving of Megami, now I'm extra fine with it. If Sukuna had more fight in him, and then we had like another surprise return, then I think I would have been annoyed. But no. I'm fully fine with it, and it works well. And I do even like the idea that, yeah, the group dynamic's kind of just back. Megami is still playing the straight man for the most part. Nobara is still the more eccentric pseudo leader of the group, and Yuji is being the one that's honest with his feelings. Like, yeah, I did cry a little bit. You clutched up. W homegirl. I'll take it. I'm happy to have this group dynamic back. Especially for a group dynamic that I will admit is much more heavily fleshed out in either extra materials or fandom. I'll be real. In universe, in manga, like they barely have any interaction together. But I am very happy to see this group back, see them happy, see them interacting. And we see that while they make this claim, there were letters left by Uraume. Not Uraume, letters left by... Oh, another thing. I guess I should talk about it now since it's here, and I'll probably forget if I don't. Yuji doesn't have the markings on him. Like, he doesn't have the extra eye slits. What's up with that? Did he not eat Sukuna yet? There still is the last finger. What happened to those 3 other fingers that Sukuna spat up last chapter, Gege? Why does he not have the markings? Is he just waiting? I thought he wanted to give Sukuna another chance as quickly as possible, which meant either absorbing his residuals or consuming him immediately. Because, you know, that's the whole point. We have 3 chapters left. I'm hoping they'll be addressed there because it's not addressed in this chapter. But, of course, there were 2 letters left. One for Nobara and one for Yuji. Or not one for Yuji, one for Megami. As Yuji doesn't have one specifically because he spoke with Gojo before the battle. He had a whole bunch of time with Gojo, an entire month. Meanwhile, Megami and Nobara haven't spoken to the man since October 31st. Or sometime before that. But we see their letters are filled with different information. Ultimately... Wait, let me read this properly. 2 letters, Yuji says. Nobara reads her letter and instantly crushes it. She says it had info about her mother's whereabouts. And Yuji asks, "Oh, did you even want to know in the first place?" And Nobara says, "Not at all." I'll admit, I like Nobara. Did her mom abandon her or something? I genuinely forget. Hold on. I'm about to run to the Googler. Nobara, mom. JJK. What happened to her? The Jujutsu sorceress. Well, no, because she was raised by her grandma. Her grandma gave her the straw at all cards technique. So I'm assuming there's something up with her mom. I completely forget that supply. I haven't read her backstory in forever. I ain't gonna get to it. But with it being the case, Gojo had information of where she was, I guess. But Nobara didn't care because she doesn't care about her mom. A little anticlimactic. But once again, I hate to say it, Gojo and Nobara had no relationship. So it makes sense that he was so out of touch with her feelings and emotions because they literally never spoke. Issue with JJK streamlining and fast pacing. I don't even think in extra materials they have any sort of dynamic. That's why she only thinks of them as the strongest. Heck, Megami and Gojo barely have any dynamic, even though Megami was literally raised by Gojo. Whoops. Once again, series ain't perfect. Far from perfect. But once again, that kind of leads to this empty feeling. And speaking of things about parents that they didn't want to know, we see Megumi reads his letter. And Nobara asks if Megumi receives some kind of special great authorities, but Megumi starts laughing as he reads his letter. Yuji and Nobara get curious seeing Megumi laughing and reads his letter, but they are left flabbergasted, bamboozled, blown away. As Gege once again kept his promise, and Gojo ultimately kept his promise. In a way, we see Megumi wholeheartedly laughing as we see the letter from Gojo. Says, "Unfortunately, your father isn't around anymore, because I killed him. Sorry." So, if you'll remember a while ago, Gege said in an interview that Gojo would be the one to tell Megumi the fate of Toji and what ended up happening to him. Like he meant to all those years ago when he was a kid, but Megumi was like, I don't care. And Megumi likely still doesn't care. So that's probably why he finds it funny, because Gojo just did it so casually, like, oh, BT does, I killed your dad and stole you. Or, because he doesn't elaborate that Toji asked him to go take care of Megumi. He just says, I killed your dad. So, like, Megumi laughs. This benefactor killed his pops. Wah, wah, wah. Like, once again, it's nice in the sense that it's true to form, it's true to character. Gojo didn't know these people. In fact, Megumi specifically asked him all those years ago to not tell him. And for Gojo to kind of break the ice like this for both Megumi and Nobara about family members they didn't really want to know about, I'm glad Megumi took it well, I guess. And I suppose it is in character for Gojo. It's sweet to see Megumi happy, though. This is the happiest we've ever seen the poor boy. So, I'll take it. But, of course, we still must move forward. There are 3 chapters left, after all. And Nobara says they then have to meet up with Maki and the others. She also tells Megumi to attend. Yuji says he has to apologize and thank everyone. Megumi's confused, so Yuji tells him it's about Yuta. And we cut to... Okay, this is the last page. Yuji says they gotta save Yuta's life, and we see Maki, Toge, and Kusakabe, Miwa, and Momo. Someone screams, possibly Maki, "Yuta, you fool!" Megumi wordily asks if this is what saving Yuta should sound like. So yeah, Yuta lived. Now... Yuta should have died. I'm gonna say it. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's gonna be some special circumstance. Maybe he's gonna be stuck in Gojo's body, regardless. But now, I mean, Gojo's big. Gojo's so big. He's so big. And Choso's big, too. I know a lot of the fandom doesn't care about Choso. Personally, I don't even care that much about Choso. I know a lot of the fandom... That's the thing. Some of the fandom really loves Choso, so... And I'm in the side of the fandom that's like, he's neat, I guess. But I didn't really care much for Choso. I mean, I felt a little bit. Once again, upon actually reading his text out, voice ID, I felt something. But... I'm trying to think. Now, with Yuta being alive, the only lives that Sukuna took successfully were Higuruma, who doesn't even get a mention by Yuji at all. Both in the flashback chapter where he mentioned all the dead people who inspired him, or now. But Higuruma, Kashimo, and Gojo. Gojo's important, but Kashimo and Higuruma are randoms. So, like, I think Yuta would have been a nice cream on top. After Panda 2, he should have just slaughtered that. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. Once again, we are like 53 minutes deep. And I can be real with y'all. I am so disgusted that Miwa and Momo showed up on the battlefield against Sukuna and Panda got away scot-free. Angel, who was literally a armless civilian, showed up on the battlefield. Got punched. Scot-free. Toto, we don't know his whereabouts. He should probably be alive, though. Same thing with Hana. That's probably why they don't get mentioned here. They're probably just being killed. But still, everyone else showed up and cooked. Except for that filthy thing Panda, and yet he still gets to walk with them. He still gets to exist. He still gets to breathe. Why? Usa. But yeah, now, I will admit, Sukuna should have slaughtered some more people. He only got 3. 4. Gojo, Choso, Higuruma. I mean, I guess that's fine. But I would have added Yuta. I'll be completely. I really would have put Yuta and Riko on top of that. I would have put him on there. I think 5 would have been a good number. But 4 is good. 4 is still good. I don't know. Once again, now that Yuki Showdown's over, I'm gonna do a reread. I'm gonna look at it comprehensively. I'm gonna tally up Sukuna's death per chapter ratio. I'm gonna do everything. I need to make sure some characters are still gone. I need to make sure Toto's alive. I need to make sure Hana's alive. Like, how many characters died and came back? Toto, Nobara. I think that's specifically it, right? Right? I think that's it. The main two. Let's Toto and Nobara. The characters who were assumed dead, they came back and clutched up. Everyone else was kind of just there. I'm thinking. Ultimately, I'm gonna call the chapter worthy. I like it for the end of Sukuna. I like it for the humanity Sukuna showed. But I'll tell you the group dynamic in the back half of the chapter. Once Hakari and Uraume get on screen, it kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth for the rest of the chapter. And Yuta being alive. This is the thing. It's weird, right? Because I do like Yuta. If y'all couldn't tell by my recent double drop of Yuta Glaze, saying he is the best domain in the entire series, and also glazing his performance against Sukuna as literally the second best, I think it's clear I do like Yuta, but him being alive and it being treated so casually, like as an end of chapter joke, feels kind of weird. It does feel kind of weird. We're on break next week, though. And I've had a whole bunch of thoughts, and I've been yapping so extensively, and I do need to get to bed because I do have work in the morning. So I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave Death of a King in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as little as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks will include the live reaction to this very chapter, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below where you can drop 5 beans for a short video, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 25 beans for a long video. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Zera, Greyhound, Eternal Flame, NMA, Real Rare, Redwolf 4765, Paris Arnold, Astro, and Brandon Payne. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Zombie Hunter, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, King, Meliodas, Kevin, Encarnacion, Josh Brown, and A+A. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 members: Autumn, Mornings, Lazo, and Fine. And I'd like to thank you to our $10 members: Robbie Uchiha, Jay Warrior, and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $10 patrons: Michael Williamson, Joaquin Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give a final gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.